Welcome to the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So it is permit time down here. The permit have moved out to the wrecks and are getting ready to do their thing out there. So, means that it's time. If you guys are looking for that trophy permit for your Instagram photos and to say that you caught a trophy permit, now is the time to go do it. Spots. The best spot to fish, I feel, in the Florida Keys is the Thunderbolt wreck in the upper middle Keys down in Marathon. Really good area to fish. Really good area. So I would highly suggest that if you really want one and you have the ability to make that long run, or you can trailer your boat, I would trailer it down the Marathon and hit that Thunderbolt wreck. Okay? So that one is very good. And then from there you have the Eagle wreck. And the trick with the Eagle wreck is you want to start fishing it like right now before things start to get hectic on it. They tend to bite really nice on nice flat days. And they tend to get up around the balls and hang out. And one thing I noticed is, like, for example, at the Dwayne wreck, which is another spot that, it's well known that you catch them there. They'll push in and out of that area. So, meaning that they'll push down and they'll push out away from the balls. And one thing I noticed the other day when I was out there fishing around the Dwayne wreck, I seen a couple of the anchor balls were missing. So I'm not sure how that's going to come into play with the permit down there. And then from there, you can travel up to the Spiegel Grove, and then from there you can keep traveling up the Upper Keys to some of the other major wrecks up there. That the Northern Lights wreck up there will have them. That's where there's a lot of APs up there. So those are areas that you target the permit. And number one, I feel that if you have a day when you have north wind against tide, it slows the drift down. So it's good to get a bait. Good to free line the permit down to them. I personally like to look for them on the anchor balls. What'll happen is my favorite way to do it, to be honest with you, is I kind of wait till everybody goes home, and then I get out there around I'll run out there around 2:00, and you try to time out between when the dive boats are going out versus when charters are going home, and I'll see the fish start to come back up around the balls again. And then, I get out away from them, I'll see them, and you can basically just throw a crab right at them and then free line it back to them. They'll have their heads into the current. That's another thing. You got to figure out which way the current's moving before you approach them. And it's always good to have somebody just sight fishing in the front, just so he can just come up to it naturally. Don't run up on it. The fish will be up in the front. You can mark them, and they'll be holding deeper. With that being said, you got to have a really heavy jig head that you can free line down, 40-pound fluorocarbon down to 30-pound fluorocarbon. They're very line sensitive, heavy jig heads, 2 ounces, 2 to 3 ounce jig heads sometimes, and on with a big crab, with a nice crab. Crabs are the absolute best, I feel. If you can get a hold of some really big jumbo shrimp, big ones. Also, nice blue crabs, really nice big blue crabs, and you gotta crack the crab in half and have it kind of swarming, still kind of alive and kind of dead. I call them zombie baits. That works really. Those permit go absolutely insane for blue crabs. So you just gotta figure out how to get a hold of some nice blue crabs. Then you just cut them in half, or they even work dead, honestly. Those things, the permit will gulf those up. So from what I learned about it, they'll eat it right up. Heavy jig heads when the current's ripping, and the fish will push out. So then you got to mark them on your sonar. You get out and away from them. You got to free line the bait down to them, just like you're anchor fishing, and then you put out a long leader. You got to present it to them, just like your yellowtail fishing, I guess you would say. You got to present the bait to them in that way and naturally, and then you got to, there's a lot more to it than obviously when you hit them and they're really biting, you can really do some damage on them. So, but I do believe that season is closed for. I think it closed up as far as whether you can keep them or not. I don't keep those fish. I release them all because they are spawning. in that area, and I do call those fish petting zoo fish because they're there spawning, and when they're eating, they're eating. So you go in, you catch a few. It's a fun thing to do during transition and get some beautiful pictures. And then also mixed in are the another fan favorite are the African pompanos. And the African pompanos are a really aggressive fish when they're on the surface. And you can even catch those on topwater down here. Not a lot of guys know that, but you can even catch those APs on topwater. They blow up. They blow up on kite baits. They blow you can slow troll some goggle eyes through there. You can slow troll. I think their favorite thing to eat is the pilchard. They love the pilchard, but also the blue crab cut in half works really good with those APs. They're a crab eating fish, so that's another thing that are going to be mixed in. They're going to be like eagle wreck. On all those smaller wrecks down, keep all those wrecks honest. Those fish have fins and they move around. So just know that if the current's moving to the south, you just follow the wreck track south and then just go from there. If they're not one place, they're going to be another place. And then if they're holding deep, they're holding deep. And there's some spots these fish won't even eat. So they're just there all the time now, and they're lockjaw. So that happens with wreck fish. It happens with groupers there. On those wrecks, they just won't eat anything, and it's because they just seen a lot of hooks and lines, and they're just kind of like become pets on the wreck. But it's a hell of a lot of fun to do, especially if you never caught a real big one, and man, do they fight. So I would highly suggest if you're down here, you have your boat, and you have a really nice day, there's not a lot of people out, and the offshore fishing's been kind of slow, then bring some crabs along. They're really easy to keep. You don't really need a live well too much for them. You can bring along an aerator and a minnow bucket and just keep them in there, and then put a little bubbler in there, and they'll do a pretty good job. One thing I do like ask you guys to use caution is that when you are buying crabs from locations, you want to make sure, like locations that are not on the water, is that you want to make sure that the water is being changed like on a regular basis. If you go into a place and you're looking at the water and it's full of foam and nastiness, I wouldn't buy. I caution you guys against buying bait there. I really do, especially pinfish. So if the bait's like, one thing you have to keep in mind is that a lot of shops that are on the water, they got to bring in the salt water, and they're trying to manage their own pH with salt and adding it. And if they're not properly taking care of it, the crabs are going to be kind of like lethargic, and this pinfish are as well too. So it's not that the quality, they're getting the pinfish, they're catching, they're bringing in, but if they're not taking care of their water, then your bait isn't going to do very well. It's going to be like a lazy ass bait. Okay. So there are some really good bait shops that, take care of their water. I know that the Bite Me Shack in Homestead does an amazing job with their bait. They constantly got good recirculation, clean salt water. They do a really good job with that. So that's one place in Homestead that, has a lot of good bait. And then down here, a lot of places run out of crabs. I know we're not carrying crabs at the tackle shop right now, but we're working on that down here. So, but we are at the tackle shop at Tavernier Creek Marina. We're starting to bring in loads of pinfish on Fridays now. I think they're coming in on Thursdays, and it's been rather slow down here in the Keys this spring. So, as far as ramping up the pinfish stuff at the shop, we'll start ramping up the amount that we're carrying as we see more people start coming into the Keys. So you have to use caution too, because you don't know how long the pinfish has been in the tank either. And you can tell when you buy bait and it's been in there for too long, that the bait's lethargic. It doesn't swim, and if sometimes you just put it in the water and then it'll get down to the bottom and it'll die on you. So I'm not saying that not to go to certain places. All I'm saying is just be mindful of when you go in and be observant. Are the tanks clean? Ask them how long the pinfish have been in. Just be smart before you buy, okay? Because there are other places that you can buy from. You may have to do a little bit of extra driving to get there, but it's worth it when it comes to like the amount of money that you're spending on fuel, the amount of money that you're spending on line and bait. Don't like just take the first shot. Oh, they got pinfish. So I've been guilty of that. So I'm just a lot smarter now the way if I'm going to need to buy some live bait, about how it's taken care of. Is it brined? Are they like, if that bait's not brined and you're going to freeze it, it's not worth it. Honestly, it's not worth it. So be careful. There's a lot of people that are getting into the bait business now that really don't have a clue. And you just got to like ask those questions. Unless you're going to use the bait right away, that's okay. It just, if you're going to use it that same day and it hasn't been brined, just buy it. So that's my advice to you guys. I know that there's a couple great places at Homestead right now that are selling some really good quality bait. They're taking care of it. They're catching it themselves. They're taking care of the tanks. And I love to see that. I just love to see that hard work put into that shop owners are doing that. Down here at the shop down here, we're doing the same thing. We're using local providers. We're at the shop itself. We actually have the tanks that are bringing in the salt water from Tavernier Creek Marina and recycling it. So then our tanks are drained and then they're cleaned at least once a week. And the pinfish that we're selling, we're only bringing in, like, it's kind of like anything else with inventory. So you don't want to have too much and you don't want to sit there, because what happens is when a fish is in a tank for a long time, then it's over, man. The fish just becomes lethargic. He swims in circles and and then you want to like blow through that bait as fast as you can. And then you bring in another fresh round of bait, because that's the shit that works. So it's the same with shrimp. So it's the same with shrimp, because all it does is you get a lot of shrimp that die. So you just be mindful when you're going and shopping around for bait. You have all I'm saying is that you have a favorite bait provider, you continuously go there, support them, develop relationships with them, take care of them, pay them on time. And once in a while, you're going to get some bait that probably isn't the best. But the worst thing you can, like, if that happens 1 out of every 15 times, don't take it out on the bait guy. Don't. Because that happens. It's fishing. Bait catching is extremely hard. Anybody that I have, like, bought bait from over the years, I just learned that you just take care of those guys. And if you get one, and don't like try to get a discount either from them. Those guys work their ass off. So those guys work their ass off, and they do it because they love to catch bait. They love to catch bait more so than go fishing. So those are the guys that you want to take care of and you want to like do the extra for, because that is one hell of a job. It is hard as fuck. Yeah, so within the courses right now, we're just going over some bait. I'm sharing some bait spots with the guys in there and stuff, and going so they have some areas to catch some bait. And there's a lot of guys love to catch bait and do all that kind of stuff, so they get that full experience. So I'm sharing some areas where they can catch cigars and that kind of stuff. That's all I got for today, guys. If you guys want to get involved with any of the courses I got going on right now, I've got the late spring wahoo course, getting ready to do the Q&A right now. I'm so looking forward to that. And then the mutton one, pre-spawn mutton, we're gonna end that with a bang with some really good stuff. I am so excited to finish that up. As far as some of the stuff I'm going to share with the guys, and then I'm going to release a little mini course here on rigging. So I spend the time in the courses like going beyond the basics. Okay, I want people to I'm not showing them like knots and all that kind of stuff. Knots and stuff I can do in a separate. And those guys that really want to learn how I do it, they can do it. I'll have that mini course for that. So, but that's all I got for today. Leave the small fish for the boat behind you. Follow me on Instagram, Good Karma Sport Fishing _FL_Keys. YouTube, I'm going to be releasing just a short little YouTube here on tracking sargassum weed. It's a free site, and I want to show you guys. I had some questions in my Instagram about that, so nothing major. So, but if you guys want to learn, check out what's going on with the sargassum stuff. It's a pretty cool tool that you guys can use. And that's all I got. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good.